Once more with the lovely afternoon game drive here in the Masai Mara in Kenya, and we're watching some elephants just as we came down the road. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we've got Archie. Yeah, that's Archie's thumb. Folks, we've just got some elephants here in front of us that actually grazed past us, and we've just turned around and come back up towards them, and that's Mommy just letting us know not to come any closer, which we won't do. And folks, it's a lovely 24 degrees Fahrenheit, 24 degrees centigrade, 74 degrees Fahrenheit, and please join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Let's have a very interactive game drive this afternoon. Look at that little youngster with half a tail. Yesterday we had one without a tail at all, and this one's got half a tail. I wonder what has been getting on their tails. If it's crocodiles when they're crossing the river, I think that would be the most likely, but I'm not quite sure. It's interesting to see now. That's the second one I've seen in the last few days with a problem on the tail. So our plan for this afternoon, we've come down sort of to the western side of the Mara Triangle, down river. Now, I know that Taylor was thinking of going and looking for the marsh pride again, following up on that story that was absolutely unbelievable this morning. She was very lucky with those lions. So, and Archie and I have thought that we'll come down this end and maybe try and see what the clan of Hahina are doing. And if there's not too much going on there, we'll always go and have a look at the Mara River, see if we can see some hippos, and maybe on the other side the Paradise Pride. So that's pretty much our plan as these elephants start moving off towards the marsh area as well. Let's go over to Taylor and her start of the drive.
I thought that we would start off the show with the bird with this spunky hairstyle, because it kind of resembles Manu and I. Manu's got like the big dreads. Manu, what does your hair look like again? But anyways, that's not really what Manu and I look like. Those are crowned cranes, and that's a little baby elephant who I think might chase them in a little bit. So before I even introduce myself, I think let's watch this unfold, because we know how quickly things happen out here in nature, and well, you've got to be watching all the time. Even if you blink for too long, you could miss the action. And you can see this little one is plotting its attack. It's taking a wide berth though this afternoon, maybe going to try and conceal itself behind that other elephant. I don't know. I don't know too much about elephants and their stalking techniques, sadly, but we shall learn together. I do know, however, that young elephants like to chase birds. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me, like I said earlier, is Manu, and he is 28 plus 1. Yeah. One day, that is. There we go. So it's almost his birthday again next year. We're starting with elephants. We're not quite in the marsh just yet, but we are slowly getting there. And hopefully we'll follow up on all sorts of things. But this will be a breeding pair of crowned cranes just moving through the grass. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering if baby elephants ever run away from their mothers just because they're being naughty. Most certainly. It's actually quite funny when they do that, because then when they realize how far away they've gone, they panic, and then they run back, but they look terrified, of course. And I've had some great sightings where you can actually see that that's happened. They've got a fright now. They're worried they can't find Mom. Eventually they find Mom again, and they won't leave her side, or sort of cowering towards her, which is always quite sweet to see. But you've got to explore the world, don't you? Now, for those of you who are new and have only just started watching Safari Live, you have to tell us who you are. Tell us if you're a new viewer, and ask me a question. And you can do that by hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter, or you can talk to us via the YouTube chat. And I'm not sure if Rolf mentioned it, but it's quite cool. We're in the Mara Triangle at the moment, which is nice. It seems as though the crowned cranes are upsetting everybody today. Well, no, that's the equivalent of using a toothpick. What have you picked up? Oh, sorry. It now used whatever was in its trunk as a frisbee, and obviously the birds seem to be a little bit more on the entertaining side. It's going to fetch it now. No, ears are flared. This youngster is not happy with those birds either. Not that they're scared of them or anything like that. Let's see, I think it's gone to pick it up again. Has it? No. It's got something else. I have no idea what that elephant had in its trunk. Look, it was white. I don't know if it was a bone or something. Now, Mia, you're wondering if crowned cranes are also crested cranes? I would assume so. It sounds about the same. I actually don't have my big bird book with me. I took it out because we are expecting the rains today, and I thought that that can be the one book that has not, or that doesn't get wet. All my other books sadly have succumb to the horrible weather conditions that we experience when we're out in the field. So yeah, I can't check, but I'm pretty sure it is the same thing. It would make sense. But they're beautiful birds. Sometimes they've got, and that's why it's so important, Latin names are so important, is because you can have 30 different common names for the same animal. Or you might go to another country and they might have the same common name and it's a completely different, it's not even the same species. So that's where the Latin names are, of course, important. But anyways, we're going to, I think we might stay here for a bit longer. This could get quite exciting, all the interactions between the elephants and perhaps the crowned cranes. Maybe they're going to ruffle a few more feathers. But let's jump back on board with Ralph and see if he's any closer to a hyena den.
Thanks, Taylor. Well, we are a little bit closer to the hyenas, but as per usual, when we're on the way somewhere to find the end point of our mission, we do always come across all sorts of interesting things. And here we've got some female waterbuck with a little young topee, who are quite a different color to their adult parents, but always wonderful to see the youngsters. And lovely little scene here. We've got a small aggregation of animals, some waterbuck and topee, and off in the distance across the road we also have some ostrich, and looking up in the front there's a whole flock of ostriches that are moving through there. So it's quite a calm afternoon, nice in the shade. We don't have the sun beaming through as it was a little bit earlier. It was actually very hot and almost giving that feeling of a bit of a thunderstorm coming, afternoon shower. And the animals seem to be a little bit active, which is nice. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering if I can describe the smell and the feeling of it here in the Mara. Well, at the moment it's quite fresh, it's crisp. Every now and then you get a bit of a smell of some of the elephant dung, which is quite sweet on the nose, but such a freshness to it. Yeah, it's difficult to describe, and the quietness as well. You know, when you're just hearing the wind blow and the odd animal maybe giving an alarm call or a snort or a bird call off in the distance. That's what you can characterize these afternoons in wide open expanses. I've felt very similar in Namibia, where you have this quietness that is almost loud. So I think we're going to start to head forward a little bit in a minute, and we're getting closer to where that hyena clan is, and having a look there, you can see that it has calmed off a bit in terms of, you know, the openness. There's a lot of clouds around now, so I think we're going to head off a little bit towards these hyena. Now, BK Jong, you're wondering if hyena have been witnessed hunting. Absolutely, I've witnessed them hunting myself. On one of the game reserve, I've witnessed it many times, but on one game reserve, the hyenas had learned that if they chased animals into the fence, it was very easy for them to catch them. So they started, and eventually they were specializing in chasing zebra into the fence, and once they got tangled in the fence, they would come in and make the kill. So I think that argument that we had, well, not an argument, but we contested the intelligence or the most intelligent predator, and it seems Scott and I were both unanimous in leopard, but Tristan came with hyena, and the more I think about it, the more I think that possibly he was right. But let's go and see if we can find these hyena. Maybe we'll witness some of that kind of stories unfolding as well, because hyena are very adept hunters, but they are opportunists, and if there's 75 of them, I think that these guys are worth going and spending some time with, because I think it could be fascinating what they get up to and how they interact with the other predators. So very interesting. So I'm gonna keep on going. We're not too far from the hyenas, and in the meantime, let's send you over to Taylor, who's got one of my favorite ground birds in the whole world.
Well, I think they're pretty intimidating, these birds. I think I once described southern ground hornbills to all of you as the accountants. I'm going to change my mind, because this afternoon, the way that they're moving through the grass, they look more like tax collectors, and they're going to come knocking on your door. Well, that's what I feel like this afternoon. Needs to be some eerie music playing too, but they're walking like that because they're on the hunt. Hey, there we go. I love it when they toss their prey up into the air. Those beaks are quite long, so they need a little bit of assistance in getting the food down the right hole. So tossing it up like that often does the trick, and it looked like they'd found themselves a nice dung pile of something over there. I think you can see them all pecking through it. You can see the dung flicking up. Could be elephant, could be a rhino midden in there, could be hippos, probably hippo, not hippo, elephant or rhino, I would imagine, around here. Normally when the hippo, oh, I suppose it could be female hippo dung. They don't necessarily swish their tails when they defecate, and they do leave these nice round balls. Yeah, very nice. Still waiting to get the southern ground hornbills eating a chameleon. I've seen it many times, but I haven't ever seen it live, and I love chameleons, so that's not necessarily the nicest thing, but it is just incredible how they can then feed on such large prey, or even them catching a rat or a mouse. That's pretty cool to see too. Very, very powerful beaks. Now, Vem, you're wondering if this is one family of hornbills. It is indeed. So with hornbills, the way that they breed, they are cooperative breeders. So there'll just be one dominant male and female that are doing the mating and then the laying of the eggs, and then the rest of them will join in, and they'll actually help raise that chick. And it takes that chick a very, very long time, many years, before it reaches adulthood. So it relies on the adults searching for food for it. So I always like to say this, when a hornbill's young, because they're constantly yakking away as they move, and it could be chirping quite a bit, but I didn't see its beak moving about too much, but the wind would also be muffling the sound. But constantly reminding the adults, I need food. So sometimes you see the adults run off and, quietly eat something, because I suppose they need to make sure that they fill themselves up too. It's hard work raising that chick, but it'll learn as it goes along too. So if there are any easy targets like crickets, that are sitting on the grass, or grasshoppers, or a millipede or something like that, then they shouldn't have a problem, those youngsters. They'll also help themselves when they can. But I'm sure they take advantage of the adults for as long as possible. But that's quite cool. We're getting into the area where we saw our lions as well, which is nice. Now, Shelley, you're wondering what other hornbill species have I seen in the Mara. I'm so sorry I don't have my big bird book here, because I would have loved to have showed you pictures of them. So I've seen the black and white casqued hornbill. That's quite a cool one. I actually had a nice sighting. It was off there, though, a few weeks ago. They were just on the ground in the distance. I was just watching with my binoculars, but that was cool. I've seen a lot of the crowned hornbills, which I hadn't seen for a long time. Well, I saw them you see them in the southern sand along the Sabi River, but not very common up in the north. I've seen, I can't even remember. What else have I seen? I've seen some of the red-billed. I think it's the eastern red-billed hornbill, which was quite nice. I don't think I've seen too many. Manu, have we been sitting here this entire time and I'm looking at a lion over there? Yes, I am. Pan scan. Hey, Manu and I are not concentrating. We've been sitting here this entire time looking at these hornbills. And one of the things that Manu and I always do when we arrive at a sighting is we pan scan. And we are, I suppose, teaching you the terminology that we like to use. We've made this term up. So let us quickly show you again what a pan scan is. So it starts off with a wide frame. Anywhere, you can choose normally left to right, obviously. And then you very slowly pan across. You can zoom in. Zooming is most certainly allowed, especially if you think you've seen something. But I think, what's the rule? You only get 2 zooms in, and if you're incorrect, then you've got to move on. No, I'm just joking. We don't do that, of course. You've seen me call many logs lions before and made Manu check them. But there we go. There's a lioness. So we need to change our route a little bit. I'm sure there's a road that cuts through the middle. I think so. But there she sits. And I have a theory on the whole saga from this morning. And it probably is already out there. I just haven't read it. Or I don't know much about these lions. I'm still learning about the family, the bloodlines and all that type of thing. And Richard, you're wondering exactly that. But I think before I even ruin my thought, I think we need to go around and get a closer look. So let's do that. So we'll engage in that conversation at some point, I promise, because I need to bring it up. So we'll go around. I do very quickly want to check the forest down ahead of us, because that's where we had the lions taking down the warthog. And my two favorite lioness, the ones that like to live in the marsh, were down there too. So I just want to go and have a look, because I don't know where those lions went after the buffalo chased them. So I'm going to race on over there and then race around that side, and then you'll hopefully be back with me. I'm going to send you back on board with Rolf, and he hasn't found the hyena yet. He's got distracted. He's got some elephants.
Yes, thanks, Taylor. It would always be rude to pass up an opportunity sitting a little bit with elephants. We had a lovely little scene here where one of the babies was rolling in the water. And then something else quite interesting was one of the females urinated, and there's a big bull with them, and he went over and sucked a little bit of a urine up into his trunk, and then he put it into the back of his mouth. And that would be obviously utilizing that Jacobson's organ, and he would be really testing to see if the females are receptive. Now there's another young bull on his way here, and that's the whole reason for him backing up a little bit. And it doesn't look like he's really worthy of backing up from. But you can hear some low rumbling, a little bit of communication between them. Now, Tom, you're wondering what kind of teeth, if any, elephants have in their mouth for eating. Well, it's mostly molars at the back of their mouth. They are huge, and they're there just to grind all the vegetation down as much as possible. They use their trunk to break off, whether it's grass or leaves or entire branches, and they throw it into this crushing machine that is their mouth, with these huge molars in the back, and it's literally just ground down. Now, over an extended period of time when they're using these teeth to grind down the vegetation that they're swallowing, the teeth also grind down themselves and they get worn out. And so they do need to be replaced, and they are replaced a few times within their life, and that is the limiting factor, that they get their last set of molars around between 50 and 60 years old, and when that last pair of molars wear down, the animal suffers from malnutrition from there on, and it's sort of passing vegetation straight through. Lovely to watch drinking, and when they're spraying themselves with water. Elephants absolutely love the water. I've seen them swimming in numerous national parks and reserves. So we're still on our journey towards the hyena, and keep stopping with all these lovely little scenes here on the way there. I'm sure there'll be another pit stop along the way, but in the meantime, let's go over to Taylor, who's got a birdie for you.
I know, I'm just looking. Oh my goodness, there's warthogs running around there. There's a vulture that I have not seen for a very long time. I'm wondering if it is a white-headed vulture. It looks very much like a white-headed vulture. Can someone confirm that for me? I don't have my oh, no, I'm talking nonsense. I have an app on my phone and I have white-headed vulture. Never mind, everybody, don't worry, I will do it. Pigs, you should know better than to be running around here like this. This is a danger zone. I feel like I've just quoted Archer. Sorry, everybody. But I don't know why they're so stirred up. Perhaps they can smell the lions, because I don't know where the rest of them are. I just saw the vultures down on the ground and thought we better have a quick look and see what's happening around here. I think that maybe that's it. Maybe the scent of lion is looming around and is disturbing those warthogs. It's also very windy, so it probably a bit uncomfortable being around there, not having all your senses equipped. Where is a white-headed vulture? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. That's very cool, guys. I haven't seen a white-headed vulture, I don't know, maybe 2015 was the last time I saw one. Maybe beginning of 2016. But it's been ages, so that's very cool. A good one to add to the list if you don't have white-headed vulture on your list of birds. They're quite large. You saw it in comparison to the lappet-faced vulture. And then there's an eagle. Where's my binoculars? Are you a tawny? It looks very much like a tawny eagle from here. It's also about 250 meters away from us with not great light, but those feathers do look a lot lighter, so I don't think it's a great spotted eagle. I'm going to go with tawny there, but you can see it's not a great light. My binoculars make it slightly better. So yeah, so they're there. They've cleaned up the scraps. So this means obviously that the lions are done with their kill now. They've handed it over to the birds, and they'll get rid of all the scraps. They probably finished it a long time ago, and they're just resting now. Wendy, well done. Ding, 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 ding. You said that the white-headed vulture is the first time you've seen it. Very cool. Look at that warthog getting right on in there where I assume that carcass must have been. Now, there have been reports of warthogs feeding on carcasses before. I haven't seen it. I've seen bush pig eating carcasses. But you're just using the luxury facilities. Did you not like that other warthog that got eaten very much? I feel like that's a serious insult. Hey? And they say animals don't know what they're doing. People know nothing. That's crazy. Now, as we stare at this beautiful bird, Cheryl, you were wondering of the vulnerability of these beautiful creatures. Vultures in particular aren't doing so well. The white-headed vulture, however, I'm just having a quick look because it doesn't say anything here. No. Conservation. So it's vulnerable. So it is. So I'm just quickly reading a statistic because I didn't know too much specifically about the white-headed vulture. And they say that the population in South Africa has decreased by 10%. That's no good. It doesn't give me a year, though. Well, that doesn't help me. We'll have to look up that statistic and just check. But, yes, poisonings are a reality in South Africa. That's how a lot of these vultures are dying, unfortunately, for various medicinal uses. The sangomas, the witch doctors believe they've got all sorts of wonderful properties. But, of course, this is not true. And it's just very sad that such a beautiful bird and a very important bird to the ecosystem has to fall short here. So yeah, so it's not great. But I just wanted to pop past and have a look. There isn't too much going on here. Nice to know, though, that the lions have finished and have moved on. Like I said, they could just be laying somewhere in the forest. So we will carry on going around. I just want to do a quick little loop just here, because I suspect that those two other females, which we'll talk about at some point, are in here still. So let's check here. Sorry, we've got a few cars driving in front of us. We're also out on safari. Not quite a safari vehicle, but, you know, whatever floats your boat does the trick. they probably wouldn't be able to go in the areas that I like to drive around in. Half their car would be swallowed by water. They wouldn't make it through the marsh. Luckily it's dry up here. That would actually be a problem, hey Manu. If we had a flash flood now, we'd have to tow this car out. I think that would definitely happen because these roads go underwater just with 40 or 50 mils of rain, which is nothing for a downpour here. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any cats laying around here. Okay, let's go have a quick... Oh, well, we're not going to get there anytime soon, but we're going to make our way around towards that other lioness. And then once we've had a look at her, then we're going to go back towards where those male lions were and have a scratch around. You see that? Huh. Is she playing tricks with us this afternoon? Is this some kind of joke, lioness? I think she knows we're coming. I'm pretty sure that's the same lioness that we had. What do you think, Manu? Or do you think a different one? It was so far away. You can see that this girl's ears are quite tattered. She actually looks like one of the females, my two favorite females, because there's one girl that's got very tattered ears. But now I don't know if it was the same one that was sitting on the termite mound, because we've changed our angle quite a bit. But she's looking in our direction. Well, she's looking west. So she's coming back. I think there's a road that cuts straight through the middle. What's that? Is that a termite mound? Well spotted, Manu. Your one pan scan chance is gone. And that one? No, that's a Logosaurus. Okay, you got the impala though, so you've redeemed yourself. You're back up to 2 now. If you spot an animal, you get to redeem your life. Okay, let's go around, because I'm pretty sure there's a road there. I know I'm really hoping that there's a road. This marsh section's so big and it all looks the same. I'm just going to use that as my excuse today. No, that's a hippo trail. But there was a new shortcut. Okay. We are going to go this way. And we're going to try and get close to that lioness and also check that other termite mound to make sure that there isn't another one there. Let's jump back on board with Ralph, who should be quite close to the Mara River.
Yes, thank you, Taylor. And we are quite near to the Mara River, but we've come into the area where we saw all those hyena, and I don't see any just yet, but we've got a lot of animals out here on the plain, and it could be nice for us to stop here and have a scan, see what's around. So I think that's what we're going to do. Stop here and have a quick look, because we've got all sorts, from topi to warthogs to gazelle and buffalo. There's all sorts. And this is the area where we were, where the hyena were walking around, and I didn't even think to ask the research lady where their den site is. So if I see her again, I'm going to make sure that I found that out. But it must be close by here, because she was also on her way just to come and do some checkups on the clan and see what they've been up to. And there was that one female that looked like she'd swallowed a buffalo, because she was so fat that she could hardly walk, and it was almost like the other hyenas were circling her because she had all that meat inside of her, which was quite entertaining. But we're still looking out here. I'm sure we might see the odd hyena start popping out quite soon. Now, Jenny, you're asking the question, do all these animals band together for protection? Well, they won't particularly band together, but they do use each other's eyes and ears, because as soon as there's an alarm call, whether it be from a gazelle or a topi or a zebra or anything like that, they will also pick up on that, and they'll all run off. So they do work together, letting each other know when there's predators around. Lovely view that, looking out over the escarpment, or towards the escarpment, should I say. a lot of dotted balanites and shepherd's trees. With my little bit of research on the Mara area, it seems that a lot of this area here should historically have been more wooded and almost forest leading up to the escarpment there, and it's only in recent times that the elephants, and in the increase in numbers, I would imagine, have and increased staying in this particular area, have had a massive impact on a lot of the trees that should be growing here. So it's almost becoming a savanna grassland biome where it should be lending towards being a forest, which is very interesting. And you can see with a lot of these trees as well that they're all of a particular age, and it doesn't seem like any of the young trees and bushes are being allowed to grow to that size and that adult phase, because the elephants have been hammering them. So it's quite interesting. Now, Richard, you're wondering if those trees grow flat or if they're pruned. Well, they are pruned, and on a daily basis by giraffe and elephant. You can almost see the line underneath the tree, the exact height at which the giraffe and elephant can reach, and you can look across the plain like that it's flat. So lovely to see all the little young topi around as well. But while we look out and keep trying to find our clan of hyenas, let's send you over to Taylor, who I think has found what she's been looking for.
Yeah, it's the same lioness still. We still got her, but she's coming closer and closer to us now, which is convenient. But she's still a fair way off, so I'm hoping she comes back this side. She's just looking around her quite a bit. She walks and then she stops, and then she looks towards us, and then she looks behind her. Then she lets the wind blow through her hair, and then she takes a few more steps. And this process has been going on now, so she actually jumped ahead of us, although it looks like she's quite determined to come back in the direction as to where the kill is. I haven't seen any other lions around here just yet, but she moved quickly though. She moved off that termite mound because that was right on the edge of the forest. So it just goes to show you, when a cat wants to go, a cat can go. They can move at serious speeds, and just even at a walking pace would probably exhaust me, and most of us in fact. But she's very, very pretty as she walks through that grass. She's definitely an older girl though. I mean, she doesn't look like she's in her 20s anymore. Of course, I'm talking about as if she was a young lass, but she's not. She's probably much older, maybe between 6 and 7, maybe 8 or 9, a little bit older than that too. Her ears tell a serious story. Now Mia, no, I don't think that this lion has lost her pride. So what I think has happened here, and I don't know if this is true because, like I said, I don't know much about the lions, but my two favorite lioness and the marsh breakaways, I'm pretty sure they were all one family at one point in their lives. It's too much of a coincidence that these two girls that we see often on their own, and now all of a sudden 3 lioness with 3 very young cubs, which you know the marsh breakaway pride have, and we've seen now 5 lioness together. And we know the Angama pride, or the Olololo females, are only 4 lioness with 35 million cubs. No, it's not that many, but there's a lot of them, especially when they're walking down the road past you. It's a never-ending train. So that's what I think's happening here. So maybe they also came across the river back in 2014. And they just meet up every so often. That would explain it. Otherwise, there's just a whole lot more lions that have arrived, which is unlikely. It's already densely populated with cats. Now, Francis from Israel, you say that it looks like she's on a mission. It does. I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know why she's looking behind her all the time. If one of the lions have gone that way and the rest are here, I'm going to go forward very quickly so we can just get a better view of then where she's going to go. She's going to go in and chase the birds around. I haven't quite worked out. I'm assuming there's some lions still in this forest, and I think she's going to try and look for them. just going to stop up here. Sure, she's motoring through that long grass. Now, she's not going quickly because of us. She's just, of course, on a mission to get somewhere. Doesn't look like she's eaten much, though. I wonder if this was not the lioness that was sitting out on her own and hadn't realized that the warthog had been caught until the squabble set in between the 4 other lioness. She still looks quite lean. A little something. Maybe the equivalent of having an apple, you know, not quite much. And off she goes. She's walking straight back towards where the kill was. She wouldn't have left it if there was still something there. She knows that vultures and jackal and hyena, of course, will all come in and clean up the remains. Especially if you haven't had any, you would be trying to eat as much as you can. She's hesitating, though. You see that? Oh, no, now I think she's going to... The guinea fowl are all alarming. I think she's seen that vulture. Maybe she's unhappy with the vulture. But the guinea fowl are not happy with her. You can hear that alarm call through the wind. So now they're telling everyone. And if there are other lions here, they may have popped their heads up too, even if they were fast asleep, especially to alarming guinea fowl. So maybe she's just being careful because she's on her own and she knows how many other predators are out here. And if she's left it and it's been abandoned, anybody could have come through. She's picked up a scent. You see that? How she stopped? Now she's sticking her nose in the grass. So obviously, maybe someone's urinated there. Maybe there's some dung. Remember, cats have lots of other scent glands too. So she's basically reading the newspaper now, trying to figure out what's going on. Also doing the phlegm and grimace, but females have the Jacobson organ. All the animals have the Jacobson organ, male and female. Scent is so important for these animals. She's now analyzing everything that's going on. Now, JB, you're wondering how on earth do you tell a lion's age? With great difficulty. It's one of the harder things to do, trying to age animals, unless they're really, really young, still wet behind the ears, or if they're, you know, exceptionally old and falling to pieces. So it comes with experience. So some people say you can tell a lion's age by the spots on its body. I kind of disagree with that because I've seen some very spotty old lioness before. They just never lost them. Obviously, as young cubs, they get all those spots on their lower half of their body and their legs. And they do tend to fade with age, but that's not the case all the time. Remember, there's always exceptions. It's the same thing with the lion's nose. Typically, it starts out pink and it darkens with age. However, we all know some leopards and lions who have got very pink noses, and their noses just never went dark. So these are all guidelines. You must just remember that. So you have to take everything into account. And then ears tell a story too, unless they had a very tough upbringing, which, you know, lionhood. I don't know what you would call a lion's childhood. But, you know, they could have been bashed around a bit by other cubs. That could have happened too, causing tattered ears. So there's many different things. You just have to look at the teeth. Are a pretty good one, though. Broken teeth, not so much, because any age cat can get a broken tooth. But worn, stained, yellow, that's how you can also age him. So you have to wait for them to yawn, or ask a lion very nicely to say cheese, or ah, your choice. I'd prefer for them to smile. Okay, but we'll sit here and see what else happens. She's just sat down now. I think she's also sussing out the situation with all the alarming creatures. Let's go back across to Ralph.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, and we've come down towards the river after not being able to find any hyenas just yet. I'm sure we'll go back past there a little bit later and there might be some activity. But you see these impala all bunched together like this. Now it's lovely to see them in a herd, very close knit like that, but they're doing it for a reason, and my suspicions is that they've got wind of a predator somewhere here in the grass, and they're all now a little bit on edge, and all bunching up. Lots of eyes and ears, and I would definitely say that they know something that we don't, because they all seem to be on the same page, but I don't think that they're just bunching up together here for the sake of it. I'm pretty sure there's a predator around, so I thought we'll stop here and see if we can get some more clues as to what's worrying them. Lovely to sit with impala nonetheless, especially the gregarious nature, the aloe grooming, and even just watching them ruminate can be quite interesting. You can see the cud balls coming back up their neck as they regurgitate it and carry on chewing again. Now, I don't think the danger is quite imminent, but it does look like there was or is a sinister smell wafting through here. Now, Ben, you're wondering when they're going to grow horns. Well, these are all females, so they're not going to grow horns. With impala, the females don't get horns, it's only the males, and you'll see that there's a lovely dominant ram there with massive horns. So he's the only male in the area. There might be one or two very young ones, not really showing much horn, but that's your man right there. And what a lovely set of horns they are. So, and one of the aspects that makes impala so successful is their ability to eat most foods, most vegetation. They're mixed feeders, so they can eat a lot of this grass, and when there's not too much grass around or not lush grass, they can feed on whatever is nice and nutritious, whether it's bushes or leaves, and so they can sustain themselves on a variety of feeding methods. What are you guys worried about? Jenny, you're wondering if this is the same species of impala that we find in Djuma. Yes, it is exactly the same, the one impala. In Afrikaans, they call it a rooibok because of it's very descriptive. It's a red goat, as a bok is a goat, directly translated. So, or an antelope, but all centered around bok, like the springbok, the waterbok. It's all coming from Afrikaans. And obviously a lot of other languages, like with French, they use the Latin name for a lot of animals, so they don't and especially with a lot of the animals that they obviously don't have, the name would just then go straight on to the Latin name. Alright, well, these impala have spotted something, and I think we'll come back past them in a minute, but I'm gonna, I think, start up and head down towards the river. There are some giraffe happily feeding down there, and there's a buffalo in between us and the giraffe. So I think let's start up and head down towards the river. Maybe there's some hippo and crocodiles. That these impala are very jumpy, so I won't be surprised if there isn't a predator, possibly a lion, lying up in the long grass here somewhere, because I'm sure they've picked that up. Okay, so I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to these giraffes, see if we can spot some hippos down here in the river and whatever else might be exciting down there. But in the meantime, let's go over to Taylor for a quick update.
Ralph, that road down towards the river can be a treacherous place. I never reach my destination. It always takes me ages with all the amazing things that are down by the river. However, we seem to be doing quite well this afternoon, except that guinea fowl. That guinea fowl is not having a great day. Just to the left, it's now climbed up on the fallen shrub. It is very panicked that the fact that there is a lioness sitting in the grass. You can see it's also starting to rain now, and it's calling its heart out. Let's see if we can hear it. I'm sorry, I'm drinking water. And Faith, we're gonna have to very quickly put our rain covers on because it's pouring with rain all of a sudden. That came from nowhere, like as in very quickly. So we need to do that, like as in yesterday. Can I please link to Ralph? Is what I'm asking. Okay, I'm going to send you across to Ralph as Manu and I quickly put the rain covers on.
Shame, Taylor. I wonder what the rain must have caught up with her, that she's having to put her covers on. And we were Manu and I were saying a little bit earlier, I wonder if it's going to rain, and I did think that it looked like it was going to, but you can never tell. Sometimes it just blows over. Anyway, here we've got some of the masked weavers' nests overlooking the Mara River as I've come down here. And we have looked at them before, but they're always fascinating to watch with the males doing their hard work and building the cup-shaped nests with a little tunnel on the way out. And a very good choice of trees as well, because it's nicely thorned, so some extra protection there. They're probably the animal that they're trying to evade, mostly snakes and monitor lizards. That would be after their eggs. Lovely prize. The end of the long journey up the branch and through all the thorns and then trying to get in there, but mostly the whole group of them would start mobbing a snake as well, so they can deter it that way too. But nice and peaceful down here by the river. I haven't seen any crocodiles yet or any hippos at this particular spot, but it's quite shallow. Now, Lily, Brady, you're saying that those nests are so inventive. Absolutely. And one of the very interesting things about weavers is that a true weaver is a bird that has the ability to tie a knot. Now, I just think try to tie a knot with 2 fingers. It is rather difficult, and they normally need to pull 2 branches together and take some grass and tie that 2 branches together, and that's normally when they start. That's in your sort of willowy type or hanging branch type trees, and in this one it seems that they've bolted off of the branch itself, so they're not pulling 2 branches together. They're actually, with the help of the thorns, they've got a sort of anchor point from there, because it's difficult if you're just making your nest off of a single branch. It can slide down the branch if it doesn't have any stoppers along of it, but with all these thorns on there, it's obvious that they can build their nest straight off of one branch, and they'll fly off, and they've obviously got to strip pieces of grass, which is usually what they use to build their nest. And one of the exotic plants that they love in built up urban areas is like a pampas, and a very ornamental plant that a lot of people have in their gardens. But if there's a group of weavers that move into the area, they can strip that plant to nothing within a week or 2, so they can be quite irritating to the people that like their ornamental plants. John, you're wondering if any of those nests are in danger of falling into the river. Yes, it all depends on the skills of the male that's built the nest, and also the veracity at which the female that he attracts to come and have a look at it attacks the nest in her disgust if she doesn't like the building skills of the male, and then it can land up in the river. Sometimes when we have big storms as well, if they haven't chosen their site very well, then it can get blown off, but generally they've anchored it down pretty well, whether it be tying two branches together or with what they have here on the thorns, then it's pretty well anchored, so I wouldn't worry too much about them. And if it does fall into the river, the males do get about building another one. It's just a shame if there would be an egg or a chick in there, but that would still then come back to the survival of the fittest and natural selection. If you got a silly male who doesn't know how to build nests properly, his genes shouldn't survive anyway. So I know that's a hard way of looking at it, but that's the truth. Brent, you're wondering what fish you would find in the river here. Generally you'd have catfish, which I know that you do get in a lot of parts of the world, but we have the local freshwater catfish, and more particular the sharp-toothed catfish. There are a lot of subspecies of the sharp-toothed catfish, but generally that's the common one, or the most distributed around Africa, and they frequent these shallow rivers, dirty rivers. They frequent dams and lakes, and so that is also forming a big part of the crocodiles' protein diet in the river. I know that these crocodiles, once they get to the big size that these ones do, they do appreciate a bit of the hooved animals as well. But they can sit in the current here with their mouth open, and they wait for fish to come into their mouth. Literally, that's how they do it. So they open their mouth, and as soon as the fish touches their mouth, they then snap closed and have an easy meal. Right, I think we're still avoiding the rain, but we might be unlucky in a little while. And speaking of being unlucky and in the rain, let's go over to Taylor and see how she's keeping up.
Ralph, you just need to be positive and use the accelerator, and I promise you, you can beat the rain. I have faith in you. Don't become damp like us. We're sitting in our tent all zipped up, and sadly there's no room for this lioness to come and join us, so she's got to stay out there and try and keep nice and dry. She's not doing a very good job at trying to keep too dry. I mean, there's plenty of other shrubs that she could have sheltered herself under, but it just goes to show that the cats don't mind the rain too much. I would go down to say, though, it depends on the individual. We do see that the animals have got their own personalities, and I'm sure some prefer things more than others. And I don't think that this lioness particularly enjoys the sound of the guinea fowl, who is still shouting about. And I'm sorry, I was trying to show you the guinea fowl, but then I was jumping around in the car as I was trying to put the rain covers down because everything was getting wet. But it's still just sitting up, just on that fallen log. And it also doesn't mind the rain. There it is. It's jumped to a higher level now. It must feel so safe. Less than a foot off the ground. But that's a very unhappy call. I don't know where the other guinea fowl have gone. They must still be cowering maybe underneath a shrub, just in that little forested section to the left of that guinea fowl. And this is the brave one that has decided to come out and show itself and keep an eye on that very scary lion. Not that she'd be interested in going for a guinea fowl. At one point I thought she'd seen a warthog because her ears were so pricked forward and her posture all changed, but I couldn't see anything. I did just see a dugger boy, so maybe she was reacting that way to him, or maybe I just missed the warthog. I mean, you saw how that warthog snuck up to those girls this morning and we didn't even know. Now, Andy, you said that you thought that cats hate water, and you're wondering why on earth she's sitting out in the rain. Well, they don't actually mind so much, and here there is quite a high rainfall. So, in the Mara, you'll find that the animals will be a lot more tolerant to things like rain. It's like the same thing wherever you go. The Sabi sand, the lions don't mind it. They do sit out in it, but you'll often see them get up and move to a thicket somewhere. Whereas this, she's just quite happy to sit there. She's not going to give herself a bit of a clean. Maybe she needed a bit of a wash. But on those serious days when it's gale force wind and it's a torrential downpour, you won't find any cats sitting out in it. They will definitely get up and move out of the way, unless they're sitting in an area where the grass is super tall and they can actually find some shelter by burying their heads in the grass, which I have seen closer towards the escarpment because it's very tall there. So there they can get away with it. Out here, though, in the shorter grass, technique wouldn't work, I'm afraid. So they'd have to move to a sort of forested spot. But there's no shortage of shrubs and trees in this area, so it'd be easy for them to get out of it. But it wasn't a particularly heavy downpour. It was initially, and then it lightened up, and we just had to change the angle of the car slightly, so we only had to put one side down, which was quite nice, because you get quite hot sitting in this tent. And I know Manu hates filming out of it. It's not nice. It's okay for a sitting cat, but as soon as they're on the move, it becomes very difficult. And then one's skills are really tested. I don't think she's going to sit here for too much longer. I don't know if this... Well, I think she's going to be on the move and going searching for the rest of the pride just now. Not proud cat, Mama? You're wondering what is the most powerful sense for a lion? You know, their eyesight is pretty spectacular. We know that they can see 6 times better than humans at night, which I think is unbelievable. But their sense of smell is super important, and so is their hearing. So I think the combination of the 3 really, really make them the most super predators. I mean, leopards have got very similar senses. Their eyesight is so sharp, and their hearing is also pretty spectacular, and so is their sense of smell. So I think the cats have got fairly good senses, and I use a combination of that. No, now she's going to roll around. But you often see them spotting their prey, unless they're in a very dense area. Here, the cats of the Masai Mara rely on their eyesight heavily, whereas, say, in the Sabi sand, they might rely on their hearing a little bit more, because it's quite thick, so they could hear an animal brushing through the leaves, something like that. Just having a good old stretch. You can see she's now licking under her arms. Now, French Lifey, you're wondering if that guinea fowl that's making such a noise will end up on that lion's menu. Maybe out of pure annoyance that she's going to go up and chase it away, because that's starting to give me a headache. No, I'm just joking. I don't mind the sound of a guinea fowl too much. Hardy-dar I don't particularly enjoy. So no, but a young lion cub would find that spotted creature to be quite fun to chase around. And a young lion would eat it quite happily. I mean, if a lioness was absolutely desperate and she was, on her last legs and it was the only meal that she could get, most certainly, of course she would take it down. Remember, they're opportunistic. Was that an elephant? Or was that you, Manu? I heard rumbling. I didn't know if it was because Manu was hungry. No, there's an angry animal, something. I think there's angry elephants in the marsh. Maybe that big bull that we saw this morning that was in must is over there causing havoc. I could imagine that's going to be a hot spot for must bulls. Actually, that's something we must keep in mind then. Is if that area is obviously bustling with elephants at the moment, it is going to attract big elephant bulls that are in must, and we could see a fight, a real big fight. We only see sparring. So that could be really amazing. We must think of these things. No, I'm not sure. Okay, well, I think we're going to stay with this lioness. It's still drizzling a little bit, so we don't want to be driving in the rain. Off you go to Ralph, who still hasn't found hyena, but he's now got one that will surely tower over the top of him.
Yes, and tower over him, this particular individual will. It's a lovely specimen of a male giraffe. And there we're watching him ruminating once more. It's always very funny to watch that cud ball come up the neck, especially with giraffe. It's very obvious. We've headed now down a little bit further down the river. So we're getting further and further away from camp. And we'll reach a point and then start making our way back. And just discovering everything along the way. Here's a lovely giraffe, quite content to stand here and ruminate. There's not much else happening in the area. But we're on our way down to the river and still want to see what's down there. Now, Ben, you're wondering what species of giraffe you find here in the Mara. Well, it's called a Maasai giraffe, and the Latin name being Camelopardus tippleskirchii, which is quite a difficult name to remember, but it is slightly different to the giraffe that we get in Djuma in the Kruger National Park, but very close, and you can see that there's not much difference in them whatsoever, but they are slightly branched in terms of their family, but very, very pretty. Still very calm. We're not getting the feel that we're going to have rain on this side, so I think Taylor must have been a little bit unlucky with that outburst, or cloudburst, not outburst. Now, Judy, you're saying that it looks like he's chewing bubble gum. Well, it is pretty much like that. You see, they're using a very grinding motion, almost moving from side to side, very similar to when you watch cows, and they're just grinding it over and over again. So with the ruminants and the 4 different stomach chambers, they do pass it through a much more vigorous process than the hindgut fermenters and midgut fermenter like the hippo, and the rest being with the elephants and the rhino and the buffalo, the buffalo with the giraffe chewing the cud like a cow, but a much better digestive system. But you could see they do need to spend time ruminating and chewing the cud, so they spend an amount of time actually chewing it or biting it off the tree, and then they need to spend another amount of time actually ruminating and regurgitating, re-chewing and re-swallowing, and then passing it through a few more stomachs, which then allows for them to absorb a lot more than the hindgut fermenters. So, alright folks, that's a nice little stop with this male giraffe. He's very calm and relaxed here. I think we're going to head down to the river. Now, JB, you're wondering why giraffe walk and run in different ways. Well, it's all to do with the physics and their body size and structure. And when they jog or walk, it does tend to need to be with a different motion of the legs, because of that extra amount of velocity going forward. They need to move their legs in a different way once they start moving faster. So yes, when they're walking, you've got those two, both the legs on the one side move together, and later when they start to gallop and run, they're obviously moving their front with together and then going to the back legs. So it is very interesting how they actually change the way that their legs move from walking to running. I wonder what is in store for us here at the river. Normally some hippos in a pod here, but maybe they've moved to a different spot since yesterday. Is that a crocodile in the middle there? I believe it is. One of our flat dogs sitting in the middle of the stream. He might be fishing. Can sit like that with their mouths open, and a fish that comes swimming past would get snapped up. They can also just be watching. It's very interesting. I mean, the patience of a crocodile, I think, is quite apt, because they literally watch for habits along the bank and see when animals are coming down to drink on a particular routine, and then they will slowly make their advance and even attack on times when animals keep coming to the same spot. But a very tranquil scene down here. There's not too much going on, as that crocodile has now just disappeared under the water. I haven't seen any of the predators on the other side. Now, speaking of predators, we're going to continue and try and find some more of these hyena, maybe see what those impala were so worried about. But in the meantime, let's go over to Taylor with her predator,
who is still sitting down next to her little shrub, but she stopped grooming herself for the moment. She looks like she's deep in thought now. I wish I knew what she was thinking so I could then plot my next move. I'm just trying to think. I haven't seen any other vehicles around here, so I don't know if the other cars know about those male lions either, or what actually went on here this morning. There were a few that joined the sighting, but not too many, and then those lions all disappeared. They scattered. Very white bellies, though. You actually don't realize how white it is. It's not often that you see a lion turned upside down like that, but in comparison to their tawny tops, you can see why it's important that they don't go belly up in a hunt. Otherwise, they'd be spotted miles away. Now she's changed her angle. Now she's staring back towards the other forest, which was the other side she was looking at earlier. Now, Megan, you're wondering if this lioness is on her own because she's an estrus. There were lots of lions together this morning. We saw my two favorite lioness together here in this exact same spot. And then we had 3 other lions who I think are the marsh breakaways join them. So no, I don't think she's going to be on her own for very long. I think she's trying to maybe find the rest of the pride. Maybe this is, I don't know. I don't know why she's here. But she looks like she's searching for something. And I also don't know where all 5 lioness went after the buffalo came in earlier this morning and bashed through their breakfast and sent them off in different directions. So maybe what happened is because they did tear that warthog carcass up quite a bit, perhaps, when the buffalo did come charging in, some of them got a few more scraps than others and then just took their piece and ran for cover to try and eat whatever they could get. So that also could have happened. Or maybe that was the case this afternoon. But she's searching. You can see she's looking around. She could also be looking for prey, though. Like I said, we didn't look like she's had eaten much. And there are lots of warthog around here. Now she's up again. What have you seen now? Let me use my verkykers, as Brent always likes to say. And I think Scott says it too. James as well. I think James likes that word, the Afrikaans word for binoculars. Verkykers. It's a hard one to say. Can you say it, Manu? It's a hard one, hey? Like, I know, you got to do weird things with your tongue. But please try and say it. Verkykers. I don't even say it correctly. Probably all the Afrikaans people are laughing at me now, calling me a soti. What's she seen? Thank you very much, Faith. I just don't know what she's looking at. But there's this thicket near one of the luggers. And often the warthog like to sit around there. So maybe she has seen, or maybe she's heard, subtle grunts of warthogs. And that's what she's picking up on. We were talking about how they use a combination of senses. Those look like logs. Are those logs or warthogs? I don't think she's so sure herself. It would be interesting to see if anybody went back to where the hippo kill is. Well, I'm calling it a hippo. I just assume it's a hippo. That those 3 male lions took on last night, or maybe even the day before. It's hard to tell. Hey, it was so far away and tucked away in the forest. We couldn't even identify what species of animal it was. Let's not try and figure out how old it was either. Although I think I was trying to do that this morning. Little sooty chat flying past. Now, Francis from Israel, you're wondering if there's a warthog den nearby. Many. Just on the other side of this forest, there's quite a few. And again, it's been raining, it's a bit cool, it's overcast. I think that the pigs are going to come home early tonight. I don't think they're going to be, grazing after sunset. So maybe this lioness knows that and she's just getting into position. But now she's moving. So we're going to have to move as well because we're going to lose her quite quickly. I hope there's no cars. Otherwise you're going to hear bang. Which is actually a common sound here. When you're around me. No, I'm just joking. Just want to change it up so we can watch everything unfold. There we go. Oops. What have we got now? Smelling again. No, now it looks like she's eating something. I'm not sure what she's got. Perhaps she's picked up an old piece of chewing gum. No, I'm just joking. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I can't be serious. Let me stop. Maybe it's a bit of the warthog carcass that was dropped again when they were being chased by the buffalo. Almost impossible to see though from this angle. And there's obviously a little divot there that she's down in. It doesn't look like she's drinking water. It looked like she was actually chewing something. Let's see, maybe she'll pull it up. Yeah, I can see a piece of bone just to the left of her. Yeah, it looks like she's sitting on half of it. I wonder if that's just a part of the warthog skeleton. It makes sense, her behavior now, how it's changed. She's got her head down, she's chewing on something. She's found herself a tasty morsel. Well done, girl. Not that she's going to get much off of it, because we know that the vultures have already been through here, and they most certainly would not have missed that. They would have picked up on that straight away and devoured pretty much all of it. But maybe she's lucky. Maybe she got left a few little pieces. So I reckon if a warthog came through here again, though, she would definitely try and hunt it. That's for sure. Now, Ven, you're wondering if this lioness could be sickly. No, I don't think so. I think she's 100% healthy. She wasn't showing any signs of being unwell. I mean, she was as fit as a fiddle. She came marching in at quite a speed. And the 5 that were here this morning all looked very healthy, all of them together. So no, I don't think so. I think she's okay. I think she's doing all right. I just would like to know who the others are. Probably just been listening to us talk nonsense the whole afternoon. And they might pop out at some point. What do you think I should do? I think you can all help me here, because now I'm in two minds. Shall we sit here with this lioness and see what happens, or are we going to go across to where we left the 3 Chitwa males and go and investigate? Because that's where the rest of the pride is. That's where the last set of cub tracks I had. So let me know very quickly. # Safari Live. Shall I stay or shall I go? It's all up to you. Or you can talk to us on the YouTube chat as well. You can decide for me. Gotta be quick. Gotta be quick. Yeah, I don't think there was much there. You can see she doesn't look disappointed. I think she was happy with that little snack. She's staring. That's not enough. 3 of you are saying that I should go, and 2 of you are saying I should stay. I feel like we need a few more. Go on, let me know. What do you think? You get to decide. It's a stunning view, though, of the Olololo escarpment and the various trees. I love the different layers in the Mara. It's so beautiful. And the different colors that you can get. All the elephants back at the marsh. That's what you can see. No! Apparently it's even. That's not helping me. We're tie. So if we're tie, that means I get to go home. Hey, Manu, that's the rules. So, David, you said I must go to the hippo kill. Okay, but now that this lioness is walking with determination, we might just sit and watch very quickly, because I just want to see what happens. Just bear in mind as well, if we do go, we can always come back here, of course, but if she's on the move, we might not be able to find her again, and that hippo kill is quite far away. See, now I'm playing devil's advocate here. But we will. I do want to go and have a look down in that area. I'm just hoping that the same thing is going to happen that happened to these lions this morning, where the warthogs just kept visiting them at this hotspot. And we saw there was a warthog that ran in here earlier. 2 warthogs that did exactly the same thing. Okay, right. That means go. When I see that, that means go. Okay, Manu, I'm putting our snack away. Manu and I were munching. Oh, we need to put this rain cover up, eh? Okay, well, what we will do is we're going to put our rain covers up now so that we can move more efficiently towards the hippo kill. Finally, Ralph has made it down to the Mara River. I wonder if he's packed his sunscreen, his bathing suit, and a swimming towel.
Yep, we've made it down to the river, and we've got a lot of hippos here in this pod just below the rapids, as we are starting to get a few drops come down now with us too. The hippo's calling a little bit there with the sound of the rapids in the background. Lovely spot here. Now, Ryan, you're saying that they sound like cows. They do sound a little bit like cows, and that's why, once again, with the very descriptive nature of Afrikaans and the names that they give to animals, they called hippos seekoeie, which directly translated means sea cows, because of that correlation and the way that they do look and sound a bit like cows. It's a very descriptive name there. They're lovely to sit and watch some hippos too. We've all been watching predators quite regularly, so it's nice to spend some time with the rest. Scarlett, you're wondering how deep the water is. It's not very deep at all there. You can see the rocks are sticking out, so I'd imagine it's just a small pool just after the rapids. It's probably about a yard, maybe 2 at the most, and then you can see, I think they're even having to bend their legs for them to go underwater, so they're lying almost flat on their bellies, I think. And that one there is a bull in the front of the picture. See the difference in size. We are getting a few drops of rain here. Now, Sherry from Rhode Island, you're wondering if the hippos stay in a group for their whole lives. It is quite similar to, if you imagine, like the elephant, in terms of the breeding group, but it's slightly different in that it's got a male that will keep that breeding group together in his territory, but they could move to a different pond that is dominated by a different male, so it's not that they will stay together for their whole lives necessarily, but the breeding group could potentially stay together, but they could then be dominated by different males and in different pools. So quite interesting in that they can actually move to different pools as well. Now, Palin, you're wondering if hippos would survive in salty water. Yes, they do. And there's parts up the east coast of South Africa where you get them, and I think then also into Mozambique and up the coast of Kenya and Tanzania. So there is places where hippos frequent in salt water. And I remember they're only staying in the water to regulate their temperature, so they do come out and feed on the grass. I think the major part is if they've got good grazing in the area, and that will then allow them to be able to survive there. And the water, I think it must affect their skin a bit, maybe making it a bit drier in the salty rivers which they usually frequent. The estuaries that open up into the ocean, that's those tidal rivers that they'll be staying in, because they wouldn't just live on the beach. And that's something that is very rare to see a hippo on the beach. It does every now and then happen that they go out onto the beach, but very near to the river that they would be actually normally staying in. So it can happen, but very rare to see that. And I've seen a couple of photos of one or two that have been seen on the beach in South Africa. It looks quite strange. They've gone on holiday to the beach. We've got one sticking his head out the water there and yawning. A little bit of a display, but very nice afternoon. Now, Sinak, you're wondering if manatees and hippos are related. Not particularly. They're not related, and in fact, the manatee is closer related to an elephant. If you didn't believe that, you can go and look that up. That and the rock hyrax. So the manatee, the rock hyrax, and the elephant are from a similar evolutionary line, and it's because the scientists believe that they've got a similar placenta. They all walk on a very similar part of the foot, and they've all got modified teeth in a very similar way. So those three, the manatee or the dugong, the rock hyrax, and the elephant, are closer related than a hippo and a dugong. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering if hippos give birth in or out of water. Scarlett, they can do both. I've seen them giving birth just in sort of knee-deep water. Well, I just saw the end of it, but I'm pretty sure that in shallow water they will also give birth, and they can also give birth out of water. So there's all three of them, and I know now that they also can suckle underwater, but very briefly. I didn't think that it was actually possible, but having looked up that potential, and it seems true that they do it sometimes, suckling underwater. They go in very shallow water, because the babies can't hold their breath for very long, so they would then just be suckling very briefly and coming up for air, but they can do it, and they will do it. So that's very interesting too. It's quite strange to watch hippos moving around in the water. It's almost like watching a whale, but it's fascinating that they actually don't swim. They'll go to the bottom and run. So they're not adept swimmers, they're just very good runners. They'll release enough air that will allow them to sink, and then they run on the bottom. And in very deep waters, I've seen some footage of hippos where it was quite clear and you can see them literally dropping to the bottom, running on the bottom, and then pushing themselves and going up to the top again. But they can move very fast in the water, and it's quite scary. If you move near to the bank and you see a hippo coming towards you, you'll be surprised how quickly they can move in the water. Now, Sankit, you're wondering if hippos feel more vulnerable out of the water. I think they do, because that's one of the reasons why a lot of people can be attacked or charged when you go between them and the water. It's pretty much their safe zone, and if you come between them and the water, it can be quite scary, as they're normally running towards you, it seems, but they're actually running for that safe sanctity of the river or the water body. But sometimes you can find them very far from water as well, and then they sort of lose that that charging sort of frame of mind. It's more when they're closer to water and in water that you've really got to worry about hippos. But when they're far away from water, they seem quite content and just moving and grazing around, not a problem. So it's all water-related problems that humans have with hippos, in or near to it. And there's one giving us a lovely display. And it's getting to that time of afternoon as well where it's actually quite cool, and the potential is there that you might have a hippo or two leaving and exiting the river, going and getting on with a bit of grazing. Maybe they didn't do enough last night and they see a bit of an opportunity to get out early and get some food in. Now, Philip, a very good question there. How can you tell between male and female when they're in the water? Well, it is quite difficult, and I know a lot of people that still struggle with it after years of having watched hippos in the water. But one of the easiest ways is to see the size of the head of the males is a lot larger than any of the females or the youngsters. And then something, if you've got binoculars and you can look a little bit closer at the hippo, you'll see that the males are quite dark or black around the eye, or they don't have as much pink as the females. So it's almost like the females have got makeup on around the eye, some pink mascara or eyeliner, and if you do look very closely, you can see the very pinkness of the females and then the darker around the male's eyes. Now that one there looks like a female. So if that answers your question, it's also a lot easier to see once they're out of the water. The males are much bigger than the females, but then and it looks like the one closest to us is a female, with the one in the middle potentially being a male with another female. Quite comical, aren't they? Now, Sinak, you're wondering how the hippos can see underwater when their eyes are closed. Well, they've got like that third eyelid, or the second eyelid that, well, because you've got two, and then you've got that third eyelid that gives them a bit of a screen over their eyes when they go under the water. So they don't necessarily close it. They can actually see with the film around over their eyes underwater. So quite easy for them to see. And you see they've got a lot of whiskers on them as well, and that does give them a bit of feeling under the water. If it's murky or difficult for them to see, then they can feel their way, and whiskers help a lot with that feeling or vibration in the water. Jinlin, you're wondering what hippos should be afraid of. Well, when they're very young, like that little one there is the potential for crocodiles to try and take them on, but it almost seems like that crocodiles have evolved to know that not to mess with hippos, because you can see even babies going up to crocodiles and they don't really give them too much problem. And that was a nice show of his tusks. And so there's not too much that they need to worry about, except when they're out the water, they can fall prey to lions. And lions can hunt hippos, and they do. And I think that there has been a hippo kill somewhere just recently. I don't know if it was with Taylor. Was that this morning? I'm not sure. I know they got a warthog this morning, but I'm sure I heard talk of a hippo kill. It's nice to see their fat bellies coming out the water. We see a little bit more of them, as opposed to just their eyes and their nostrils. I wonder how Scuba Steve's doing back at Buffels Hook Dam. I wonder if he's reconciled with his girlfriend or not. And that would be interesting to know. I must actually find out from the guys down in South Africa. See how Scuba Steve's doing. I think he'd do very well here, but there's a lot more hippos for him to get friends with. He seems to be a bit of a loner though. A very big group of hippos this is. And speaking of hippos in South Africa, I want to send you 1,600 miles to the south, and maybe Tristan can give us a bit of an update on Scuba Steve.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. It is a steamy, humid. Has been completely ruined because I thought that there would be a leopard here, but there is no sign of either of the leopards from this morning. My name is Tristan. On camera today I have got Fergus. There we go, the slow steady raise of the thumb. Fergus is very creative with these things. Now, for those of you that weren't with us this morning, you might be wondering what I'm alluding to, but we're left underneath this tree, one in the tree and one down, but alas, there is no sign of either of them here, no sign of the carcass, which is surprising because Scott said he came here during the day and they were both still here sleeping and resting, so no idea where they've gone. I'm busy just looking. There seems to be a drag. Sign of a leopard or its carcass, let alone two leopards. You would think that it would be easy to find them, but given that it is Shadow and Tundi, nothing is ever that easy, and so hopefully we will be able to find where they've gone. Now, maybe chat if you have any suggestions as to where you think they might be. I am of the opinion that they might be somewhere close by. Maybe they've just gone in under a bush somewhere to go and have a little rest and sleep off their morning's excitement, or both of them have separated and have gone back to. Maybe we get lucky, maybe we don't, but it's going to be one of those afternoons where we're going to have to do a little bit more work than initially anticipated. I thought maybe we'd come here and at least one of them would be here, but it seems as though that's not the case at this stage. But I just want to check down the road a little bit. Scott said to me that they were both up and down and moving around, and they were lying under various different trees, and so you never know. It could be worth just going a little bit and just trying to check and see what's actually happening with these two. Maybe they've dragged it in under a sort of more dense area where they can hide out a little bit. The thing that worries me is that there is an impala close by, and their impala seems very relaxed. It doesn't seem as though it's too interested in anything that's going on. So while I try and check around here and have a little look and see if there's a leopard lurking under one of these bushes,
well, we have found a leopard. It's not the Panthera version thereof, it's the tortoise version. And it seems like it's stalking something through this long grass. Isn't this exciting stuff? Senzo actually got me. I know Tristan, I think, got some of you guys this morning on the sunrise safari. He stopped, shouted leopard, reversed and revealed the leopard tortoise, and Senzo did the exact same thing. Now he shouted leopard, and I looked ahead onto all the termite mounds up in the trees, and then he said tortoise a few seconds later. My name's Scott, and I'm teamed up with Senzo, like I said. It's a cool, not really cool, but a cloudy afternoon. It's a bit muggy, and there was actually a few tiny little droplets of rain a bit earlier, which was quite bizarre. The sun was shining for the course of the day. I'm quite sad to hear that Tundi and Shadow have left that kill. I stayed with them until about 12:30, 1 o'clock, sitting with an umbrella to keep the sun from sizzling my skin, and they were permanently kind of up and down, not too much movement, but kind of one looking up, then the other one looking up, Tundi trying to creep forward, Shadow then approaching her and growling, then both kind of scent marking. It was incredible behavior to witness, and then I really thought that nothing was going to happen. It was just such a hot and humid and muggy midday time that I thought that they would just be sleeping and then be waiting for Tristan this afternoon, but alas, they've ditched us. So we will continue on the search and try and piece together the puzzle of where they've ended up. There was still about half the but Shadow still had a fair amount to feed on. So who knows what ended up happening? I mean, all I can think is that possibly Tundi really had enough of it and kind of went in and tried to steal the kill from Shadow, and then they maybe had an altercation. I don't know what could have happened, but it is quite a surprise that they are no longer there. Anyway, give Tristan and myself some time to try and work out where those two sisters have skedaddled to, and while we continue our search, we will be sending you all the way back up to the Masai Mara to what sounds like an incredible scene with Taylor.
It's just nice to follow up and confirm what we suspected this morning. Hello, Scotty. I hope your drive goes wonderful. Now, we're of course back with the male lions, the Kitshatemba boys. He's having a belly rub at the moment. And we can confirm 100% now that that is indeed a hippopotamus kill. And it looks like it's a sub-adult too. It doesn't look like a fully grown hippo. It's a large carcass, and there's definitely still a lot of meat left there. But it doesn't look big in terms of the length. It doesn't look big, and the size of the head looks quite small too. And these boys aren't doing much. Oh, hang on, I say that, Manu, and there's one lion that's now up. Let me quickly reposition for us, sorry. My bad. That's such a South African thing as well. We say my bad a lot. Okay. Ah, perfect. One of the greatest things to watch a lion do. And that is use the luxury facilities. There we go. You can see, look how exhausted and full he is. Ooh, you've got a couple of cuts on your face, mister. I wonder if it was a squabble amongst the boys at the hippo carcass, or perhaps maybe when they riled up the girls this morning, and they could have got a few paws to his face quite easily. Did we see those cuts on his face this morning? No, I actually can't remember either. So maybe it was just a squabble with the boys, fighting over the carcasses, which wouldn't surprise me, as even though they're living together, they still often have arguments. If it's not over food, it's over females coming into estrus. I think he's going to look for some water. Where is the nearest lugger? I'm trying to think if I saw any water gathering here. I didn't. Look at that belly, though. Now they look enormous. They've definitely gorged themselves since this morning. Oh, that's a beautiful line. Look how his coat is also starting to go dark grey now. That's an indication that they're coming into, well, that they are in the prime of their lives, as well as a dark mane. But these are older boys. They're not very young. They must be about, what, 9 or 10 years old? Maybe just less than that. Let me reposition again. When the animals move, so do we. Always difficult with the roof on. Oh my goodness, look at what I'm about to show you, but I have to get back onto the road because I'm going to get into trouble. Sneaky maneuver. We have got a lion, we have got a waterbuck, and we have a rainbow. Ta-da! Sunset safari magic. Well, obviously just being a bit silly today. I need it. I need to act like a child. But that is quite pretty, though, to have all three of those animals in one scene. Well, not that third one's not an animal. Rainbow is not an animal, but they're buffalo, so I can save myself there. Thankfully for the buffalo. Oh, there we go, Manu. He's not looking for water. He was looking for something else. Now, Safari Wildman, you say maybe he was looking for early Christmas dinner. They've had an early Christmas dinner. I don't know if they might be here until Christmas. What's today? It's the 23rd. Hey, tomorrow's the 24th. No, I think they would have finished everything by then. As you can see, as quick as what it's going in, it's also going out fairly fast too. But that's what happens when you eat a diet just of protein. Oh, wow. How exciting is this? Obviously, we've got these male lions who are doing a little bit of something for us, which is quite cool. Scott, however, has found one of my absolute favorite creatures in the whole world, and I can't believe he's found it during the day.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm hoping you enjoyed yourself with Taylor and those lions. Now, we found something very, very interesting, and it's just down in the grass over here somewhere. It's a master of camouflage, so it may take us a few seconds to find it. It is over. Go zoom out, sorry. Oh, well done. Look at this. It's a chameleon, and it's keeping one eye on us. It obviously thinks we're a possible threat. There it goes. I'm watching you with one eye and it's looking forward with the other, and I'm always so envious of these creatures. Imagine if we could move our eyes independently of one another. And as you can see, it's now slinking through the grass. When we first saw it, was actually crossing a road and obviously looking for another tree or possibly a lady. Well, actually, this could be a lady because she's so big. The ladies are often bigger than the men with some of the reptiles. Probably not its favorite food, so we're probably not going to see it eat it. They like... This is a flap-neck chameleon. It's about 4 inches worth of body and about the same size worth of tail, so about 8 inches in total. And watch closely, because its body coloration has changed dramatically since we first found it when it was on the road. It was a very pale green color when it was on the road. And sometimes they can actually match themselves to the color of the road, but that can be detrimental to them because then people don't see them and they can... Absolutely awesome. Now, it's got kind of a bit of a stutter to its walk, you could say. It kind of jiggles like that. It's almost like a dance move, and that's to try and blend it in to its surroundings, kind of like a leaf or a twig blowing in the wind. It becomes a less easy creature to detect for possible predators, because it does have lots of predators, sadly. Snakes, certainly not when they have a chameleon in their beak. Sinak, you wondering what other kinds of chameleons we get in South Africa? There's quite a few dwarf chameleons in various parts of South Africa, but to be honest, I don't think we have the most spectacular chameleon community living. Or at least there's not too many different species that I know of, whereas up in Kenya there's a lot of different species and some very, very cool ones. How its body colors change now. It's incredible. If you guys go back, and if any of you have been taking screenshots, I should have told you to, you would have been able to compare what it looked like just a few minutes ago to what it looks like now, because now there's no kind of dark green army camo kind of vibes. It's all more of a uniform green color, and it's blending in very well to this large, not a large fruited bush willow, a round leaf teak. So Sinak, I'm not too sure of any other exact species. I know that this is the only one that we get in this area, the flap-neck chameleon, and I think it is South Africa's biggest chameleon. But like I say, there are other parts of Africa that do have more elaborate setups with a lot more chameleons and more. It's got a little... Absolutely awesome. Okay, well, we're going to leave this chameleon to continue with its business and probably let it get to where it was wanting to go, because it definitely did a runner when it saw us, the poor thing. So sorry for interrupting your plans. I hope you do find a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever you were looking for. And for now, we are going to be sending you back up to the Mara.
Oh, illegal pictures, but how beautiful is that? Can you blame me? Because we were so close to this male lion. Now, he came and he drank and he drank and he drank and he drank so much water. And now he's drank his fill. You can see that belly is now bulging much more than what it was. And I don't know where he's going to go. Manny, would you like me to reverse a little bit? I was parking selfishly. Let me do that. I mean, he's very relaxed. He's not far from the cars. Wait for me, please, lion. I really want him to just stand by. Stand by, lion. We'll sneak around him just now. I just want him to move off the road. Okay, and now that he moves off the road, Manu, I'll get a much better view for you. Oh, I have to turn the key to start this one. It's not one of those. I wish. That would be so great. That's better. There we go. And now turn and smile. He's like the perfect model this afternoon. Isn't that lovely? What a fantastic shot. Listening. There's been helicopters and aeroplanes flying around quite a bit today. I think Angama has had a serious changeover of guests. Sometimes lodges can be a bit like an airport. They get so busy, which is really good. But you don't get many places where you can get views like this, now do you? Oh, beautiful pose. Let's see who managed to capture that stretch with a tail flick, and then of course the Olololo escarpment in the background. And if you did, hashtag Safari Live, share it with us. Let us see your beautiful work. I think it's quite nice. Well, Manu, it's your beautiful work that everybody will just be sharing. They're going to break the internet with it. But that's quite nice. I'm sad that this kill's so far off the road, though. Now, Mia, are you wondering if this is Scarface's coalition? No, this is a coalition of males known as the Chitwa boys, or the Triangle males. And Scar's coalition is called the Musketeers, and they hang around where Ralph is driving at the moment, around the Mara River. Although we're not far from it, but we're just quite close to Little Governor's Camp at the moment. They hang around, probably about a couple of kilometers west from where Angama is, so if you use the escarpment, a little bit southwest of that, and then pretty much from there all the way up to the Olololo Gate and around this area. So they tend to the Little Sausage Tree Pride, they tend to the Angamas, the Marsh Breakaways, and then my two favorite lioness, and then I think the Musketeers have the rest, and there's a couple of up-and-coming males as well that are around too. But this is very nice. Beautiful. And I made a mistake because I said that it was going to be very windy this afternoon, but it hasn't been exceptionally windy. Right, before Rolf's spotted creature that he's been searching for all day runs away, let's go and have a look at it.
Yes, thanks, Taylor. And we've eventually found what we were looking for in that of a hyena, in the area that we saw them yesterday. So it's just giving us a little bit of a run around, but it's nice and relaxed on the open plains here. So we'll switch off here and just coast in and try and get a little bit closer and try and spend some time with it. But it does seem to be on the move, and I'm not sure how long we're going to actually be able to see it for. Now I am drifting along there. I'll just stop quickly. I'm watching it. When I say it's giving us a run around, it went to a clump of grass where they were lying yesterday. It had a real sniff around, and now it's turned around and almost going back the way that it came. But at least we've been able to spot one. I thought maybe it was a little bit early for them, but here's one that's out and about. So it's going to cross the road. We'll walk on the road. It'll make it easy for us to follow up on. Right, I think as he goes up the road, let's follow him a little bit, but we don't want to press up too close behind it. We'll just see. I want to try and see where this den is. And it's got to be somewhere nearby here. But with 75 individuals within this clan, it'll be very interesting to find the den and be able to spend some time near that. There will be a lot of interesting behavior going on there, I'm sure. We are just following up behind it in its characteristic lope that hyenas do. They're really long distance runners. And I wonder what it's going to do now. Just stop quickly and have a look. See if it's maybe going into the grass to smell a little bit of a pasting maybe. Oh, hello. Alright. So maybe this is where their den is. Either that or there was just a couple of them hiding in the grass. How was that for a surprise? A couple more jumped out of the grass. Oh, a little bit of a greeting display going on there. Caitlin, you're wondering if I've seen any brown hyena in the Mara. Caitlin, I don't think that they actually occur here. They do seem to be more in the arid areas on the western parts of southern Africa and then heading up that side of the continent. So I don't think you actually get any here. And this is very interesting with these spotted hyena. Look how they raise their tail, and then that one in the middle doing the snarling, and that's quite a dominant display. One on the left seemingly a little bit subordinate. Now it's very political with hyena, and it all depends where you are in the hierarchy as to how you get treated. And I wonder if this one's maybe on a little bit of a lower rank to the guys that jumped up. I want to spend lots more time with hyena because I think they are fascinating. Oh, I wonder if this is a youngster. Don't know if it's suckling there. Quite well be. Now, Linda, you're wondering if one of those hyena are pregnant. It does very much look like that, but that was also dispelled when I saw the lady from the university, because she said to me that you actually can't tell when they're pregnant, and it's more so when they eat too much. Now, I've just got some people behind me, and I just want to make some space for them so that they can also see these hyena. Excuse me, moving a little bit. Oh, and Archie's telling me it's the hyena lady. So if I move over to the side here and she can then come up next to us, we maybe be able to have another chat with her, and I can give you some more information after that. So it's the person I was waiting for. I'm going to have a chat with her. So there's so much to be learnt from being around these hyena, and I'm going to try and get some knowledge from the people that are studying them at the moment and get some inside information. But in the meantime, let's send you all the way back down south to South Africa with Tristan, and let's see what he's up to.
So we're still trying to see if we can find any sign of Shadow and Thandi here, but it seems as though there's absolutely nothing. There's a drag mark that goes across the road, but I don't know if that's from this morning where it went up towards the tree or it wasn't tracked. I can't remember if it was already there or not, but given the amount of vehicle traffic, I would have thought that that sort of drag mark would have been a blip. It hasn't, and it seems as though for some reason it's still visible to us. But I want to just check deeper into the block on this side, because maybe, you know, Thandi might have taken this carcass and moved off and eaten it and is now just having a bit of a nap. And the impala that was here was facing off into this thicket and really kind of looking around and trying to kind of see. It still is there and kind of this leopard is nowhere really right here out in the open, because that impala would have been snorting and carry on. But you can see it's looking quite sort of alert. It's facing in that direction, so maybe Shadow is lying up somewhere on that side. The thing is if the carcass is completely finished, neither of these leopards are going to stay here. They both have little ones to go and find and look after, and so I would imagine both of them would have headed back that way. But I can't find a single track on the road here leaving this area. I've done a loop around. I can't find any tracks going out, so either both of them walked in the blocks themselves and crossed over in a hard place, or they're still somewhere in this general vicinity. Maybe they've just moved a little bit. Alright, let's carry on. The rain that we had this morning, much more than what we did.
Yes, I'm sure all the antelope were enjoying the rain this morning. As you can see, this waterbuck is juicy and tasty thanks from that small spattering of rain we got last night. Now, I know you were looking at an impala with Tristan. I must say that the impala up in the Mara make our impala an impala here. I kind of shake my head in shame for them, because they have no idea how much more impressive their northern subspecies are compared to them. However, we're balancing the tables here, because I feel strongly that our waterbuck down here is far more impressive than the Dafasa waterbuck up in Kenya. Yes, you are the winner of the waterbuck challenge today. And the reason why I love the waterbuck here is not because of their face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try on the one's bottom. So the waterbuck here in South Africa have got the most fancy decorations right on their bottom. There we go, there it is. Now the Dafasa was very good. Another interesting thing with waterbuck, these are two young males. There was a bigger male around earlier. Seems like a bit of a bachelor herd, but they've got very, very shaggy coats, and they've also got quite a pungent smell to them. Waterbuck are one of the few animals that you can actually smell quite easily if the wind is blowing the right way. Yes, I am talking about your smell. Don't look at me like that. Everyone's got their kind of pros and cons, and one of your cons is the fact that you've got a very smelly coat. And it's not just you guys, it's also the wild dog that you can smell. Got quite an oily skin. You can see that it hasn't washed its hair with a good soap for a while. You can see it looks a little bit like Brent's hair from time to time. The camera's shaking because Senzo's laughing. Everything's in order though. And just as well the waterbuck ran off, and we can get back to business now. I'm only joking, Brent. It seems like I need to head back up towards that area where those leopards... I'm kicking myself for not staying with them a little bit longer today. Anyway, we at least have a little challenge on for the rest of the afternoon, and that is to try and work out where at least one of the two have gone, but ideally both of them. If I could choose, it would be Tundi, because hopefully she would take us back to a tiny little fur ball, and it would be a wonderful little treat for Tristan before he heads off on a break. For those of you who don't know, Tristan will be leaving first thing tomorrow morning. He's ditching the Christmas crew here, and it's all good though. We're getting Noel's coming back, and Tristan's heading off, so it'll be nice to send him off with a great sighting of that little cub before he disappears. Okay. Now, I've just heard a few little carnivores letting off an alarm call up ahead here, and I'm pretty certain they live in this termite mound. So I just want to have a quick stop here and see if we can't find them for you. Oh, I assumed they lived in that termite mound. It looks like there's no holes for them. I just heard a few small dwarf mongooses alarm calling, but no joy. So what we're going to do is send you back up to the Mara with Ralph, and Tristan and I are going to continue the quest for the leopards.